Well, let me ask you a very important question. Who doesn't like a nice cold beer on a hot day? Nobody. And who likes going to Hamvention? Everybody. So, come along with me while I talk to my good friend Mike, N2MAK, about Hamvention food and beer pairings. Stay tuned. Hey, welcome. It's Vince VE6LK and with my very special friend Mike N2MAK. Say hello, Mike.
What's up, people?
What's up, people? And we are here to talk about beer pairings and Hamvention. And what triggered all this was, well, I
Yeah,
couldn't go this year. It sucked to be me to Hamvention, but
yep.
Mike went, and I saw all these great photos on social media that Mike was posting, having a beer and having some Hamvention food. And I thought, what the heck? Let's talk about Hamvention food. But first, it is, and beer pairings, of course. But first,
Yeah.
it is important that we establish the credibility of our guest this evening, our expert in Hamvention food and beer pairing. So, Mike, how long have you been drinking beer for? How many years is it?
Probably about 30 years, but
About about
yeah,
30
about 30
years.
years. Yeah.
About 30 years. So it's said that to be declared an expert in any one thing, you have to be doing something for 10,000 hours. Would you suggest that you've been drinking beer for 10,000 hours?
I'd say that drinkers can't count and counters can't drink.
All right. So now that we've established that, which is awesome,
Yeah.
Mike, the lightning round questions, bottles or cans?
Cans.
Cans. Okay.
Yep.
Last lightning round question. Are you a home brewer?
No, no. It's definitely something that crossed my mind, but like, there's so many excellent breweries and it's not just where I am in Western New York. Like you go all over, there's great craft breweries out in Ohio, where Hamvention was. Go out to California, Texas, Virginia, wherever. I mean, it's great to see the craft brewery scene. Fantastic. There's lots of options. They don't need me. That's like bringing sand to the beach.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got one more lightning round question because I'm
Yeah.
obviously under the influence. Do you prefer ale or lager?
you know, I it's like asking me if I prefer QRP or QRO or whatever. I I love having options and just sometimes I want something that's light and just crushable. Other times I want something that's heavy or flavorful, and it's just like I'll go out and do QRP activations, and then other times I'll go out like I did the other day with the 7300 and run all full 100 watts. Like I'm not going to be tied down to a particular thing, a particular style. You know,
Uh,
there's too much. You got to enjoy it all.
too many choices in the
Yes.
world. Well, that's Mike. That's awesome. So I saw before we hit the record button, you were talking about the pork chop sandwich
Yeah.
and Genesee cream ale. So for those who don't know Mike, he is from that area of New York, almost Western New York, where
hmm
The home of Genesee cream is. A great local beer that it can be found all over the place. And so, how was the pork chop and the Genesee cream ale? How did that pairing go for you?
That worked out well. And just to give a little bit even more background too, which I did not mention this, but the reason I brought the Jenny Cream Ale is Robert, Digital Rancher, does a lot of satellite work and is down in North Texas. He lived, I believe, in the Northeast. I think it was Pennsylvania for a bit, but he loved Jenny Cream Ale, and
Oh
he sent
yeah.
me a photo when he was out at a restaurant where they actually had some in Texas not long ago, and I said, I'm going to bring some out to Hamvention. I knew he was going to be there. So first day I got there Thursday, I gave him a 12 pack of them, but I brought some with me, and I was like, what, let's see how this goes with the pork chop sandwich. I never had one. I've heard so much about it, and so that was kind of the genesis of everything. Was when Digital Rancher sent me the photo of him with the Jenny Cream Ale and mentioned it was like one of his favorites. I'm like, oh, I got to hook you up, and we'll
That's
see how this
awesome.
goes.
Right
Yeah.
on. And then there's the story of the Jenny Ruby Red Kolsch, which is kind of a grapefruit, a fruit beer, and the
Yeah.
hamburger.
Yeah, and so I brought two Jennies out with me. I brought the cream ale, which is like one of those originals, and then the Jenny Ruby Red Kolsch, which, see, I got both of them there. I'll put them up on screen later. But um yeah, that they came out with that a couple of years ago in the summer, and I mean that thing is just it's a total lawnmower crushable summer beer. Like in the
Yep.
heat, it just some drinks are refreshing, and that's definitely one of those. And I thought maybe like I brought that the second day when I was going to get the supposed to get the bourbon chicken. I was thinking, okay, the sweetness, and
Yep.
with the beer and that it might go well. And the line was just sick, man. It was just I was at the
Oh
wrong time. I was
no.
waiting. The line was not dying down, and so can't remember if it was Lou from Hiking and Hammond or Freddie Mac, Ham Radio Crusader came up to me. We were talking by the food court area and mentioned, oh, the burgers are good. And I looked over, there wasn't a line, and so I got a mushroom Swiss burger, which was great, but it was like
Yeah.
the wrong thing to pair with like a grapefruit beer.
Oh
but
yeah, I can
it's all
appreciate that.
good, you know.
Well,
It is
well,
what it is.
I've had grapefruit beers before, and the ones that I find really go well with a burger are actually the lemon beers, the lemon Kolsch.
Yeah.
They pair up real nice because they're a real nice light flavor without any of that bitter aftertaste that would be typical with a
Mhm.
grapefruit, right? So, yeah, I lived on burgers when I was at Hamvention last year because the lineups were just too long
Mhm.
everywhere else. So, hey, Mike, you've got some photos, and why don't you bring those up on screen and let's see what you got and talk about them a bit.
Definitely, yeah. Happy to do so. So here we
Beautiful.
go. And this is in the hotel room. You can actually see the Jenny in the background there.
And the 705.
I
Yeah.
yeah, I have a tradition that started. This was my third Hamvention, and each year I've stayed in the Hampton Inn in Xenia, and I try to make FT8 contacts from the hotel. And so I was celebrating after I got an FT8 contact on 20 meters with Belize. So
Oh, nice.
I was pretty fired up then. So that was my victory dance.
Right on.
Now here it is. You hear all about it. That this pork chop sandwich, and it's great. Now my buddy Fred was in line to get them for all of us, and I saw they had sauces up there. So he's like, "What sauce you want?" And I thought I went with the Carolina Gold. So that's going to be like a
Yeah.
mustard based barbecue
Yeah.
sauce.
Yeah.
Um, I was loving it. The sandwich was great. It was super tender. It wasn't rough or chewy like you might think a
Sure.
pork chop sandwich could be because it's a thick hunk of meat, bone, and everything. But there's a quick look see at it, and
And that's a bone-in
there it is.
sandwich.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh,
So you got to
wow.
be a little careful,
Got a little careful. Yeah, yeah.
but there I am with the cream ale, and it was a really good pairing. That's Fred. Fred actually won the Hamvention challenge that was done the next day, so he walked away with a brand new ICOM 705.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so this was on Friday. The challenge was on Saturday, the second day of the show. You might remember that from last year, at least
Sure.
hearing about it. That Josh from Ham Radio Crash Course and then Jason KM4ACK put that together with ICOM. And
Right.
so anyway, Fred won it, but there we are after lunch, just enjoying a cold one before resuming the show. It was pretty overcast. It rained the first day on Friday up
Yeah.
until like around lunchtime, really.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um, it was rough going. Blue skies though, sunny, gorgeous weather. This is on Saturday. That's Chuck KK6USY from Coffee and Ham Radios,
Yep.
and I brought out, the sun was out, so I'm thinking, okay, this is when I'm breaking out the Ruby Red Kolsch, and you know, I just had a cooler with a couple beers in the car and would walk back out at lunchtime, bring them in,
Sure.
hand them out to a couple people, and got to have that with Chuck. And fortunately, like I said, the line for the bourbon chicken was just sick. There was no
Uh,
way I was getting in there. So I opted for that mushroom and Swiss burger, which was good. It's not what I would I would pair, but it is what it is. But there was plenty of other things too. Just to point out a couple other beers.
Ooh.
I brought out some local stuff from Rochester, but first night in Thursday night, we went to Buffalo Wild Wings. I know it's a chain, but I got a local beer there, this Mad Tree Legendary Lager. And sometimes like you just want a beer,
Yeah,
And I love it and I just call it that, a beer. Like when craft breweries make lagers or kolsches and just a simple beer that's good ingredients, good taste. Like that, it was great. So that was good. The Mad Tree Legendary Lager, and then you might have heard about the Troll Pub.
I've heard
They
of the
did for
place. Yeah, yeah.
the third year the YouTubers like happy hour meetup thing, and honestly, this year was frustrating. The service just wasn't there like it was the last year or two.
Oh,
But that said, I was drinking this Troll Amber, and it caught my eye. I like amber beers a lot, and so it's from Fretboard Brewery, which is out that way, and I had plenty of them there. It was really good. If I could go back in time, and if they had that on tap at Hamvention, that's what I definitely would have had with the mushroom Swiss burger. That would have been nice. But that was a good beer, and I had a couple other ones that I can't quite remember. It might have been that Pilsner up at the top, that Dayton Gem City, because
yeah.
I asked for like a lager or a Pilsner when I first went in. And then a couple photos. I snagged this from Twitter because Ken K2ET and then Dave N2OA. They're from out in Western New York, a county or two over from where I am in the Rochester area. But Ken had tweeted out about the Yingling Black and Tan with the pork chop sandwich, and I saw lots of Yingling out there, so I think Yingling might have actually been one of the beers that was for sale out there. So
On the
at least
grounds.
Ken thinks that the Black and Tan was a good one over with the pork chop. Now I don't know. He didn't. I should ask him if he got the regular barbecue sauce, the mustard, or he just had it plain or what. But yeah. And then there were quite a few photos of this Radio Vision hazy IPA, and hazy IPAs are definitely a thing and
Oh,
have
for
been for a
sure.
couple of years, and I don't know that they're going away, but that's just a great name. When you got a bunch of hams in town, and
Radio
I think
Vision.
it's a great label, and the purple, like that definitely pops, and so Michael KB9VBR and Steve Good Game K5ATA both tweeted out about this beer. I didn't see. If I had seen it, I definitely would have grabbed some. But they apparently thought it was pretty good.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of things. There's other foods other than the pork chop sandwich and the bourbon chicken at Hamvention. And you could take the IPA and that probably go good. They have pizza there. It's fairground pizza and stuff, but I've heard people say it's not bad. So you could take the IPA and that probably go fantastic with the pizza. And if the pizza's not good, just have more IPA.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah, and just end with this. This was my first Hamvention. So this was back in 2021, I believe, or 2022. And I mentioned get this tradition, try to make FT8 contacts from the hotel room. So there I'm using the mag loop, but I have this beer in my hand. I brought a 12-pack back from Ohio with me, the Rheingeist Truth IPA. It was absolutely fantastic, and this is easily going to become one of my favorite IPAs. It's a good IPA just all around.
Right on. That's very cool. And what
Yep,
loop antenna was that? That looks like an Alex loop.
that's the Alex loop. Yep.
Yeah.
That was the second antenna I purchased. I'd only been a ham for a couple months, so I didn't know what I was getting into. That said, for compromised situations, whether you're in a
Oh
hotel
yeah.
room or there was actually a POTA 4 for, I had to use it because in order to be at the confluence of the trails and the park, like I had very limited space, and that was perfect to set up next to a picnic table, and
Nice.
so they work. They're challenging. You've used them,
Yep.
They take some getting used to, but I've used her enough where I can tune it relatively, straightforward. It's not always as easy on the lower bands like 40 meters as it might be on 10 or something, and they're very sensitive. So as long as you don't sneeze, you'll get out there.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, that's great. I'm just looking at my notes here to see if I had any other questions. Mike, I don't. This has been great. I appreciate the tour of beers and Hamvention food. Any parting thoughts?
I'd say this: just make sure when you're there, bring water bottles. Like I was just having like one beer with lunch. That's it. And I remember, like, after I had like that Jenny and that burger, I was like, I'm ready to go back and go to bed, take a nap for an hour or two. Like, when you day drink and it's warm and humid out, and you didn't sleep well, and you've been on your feet all day, like, sometimes that can be counterproductive. But there are people that are seriously, I don't want to say dehydrated, but definitely in need of water at points. And so when you go to Hamvention, bring a water bottle, drink plenty of water, buy it if you got to buy it, suck up the price. I don't know what they're selling it for, because I was always bringing stuff in, but definitely stay hydrated when you're out at these ham fests, or if you're out playing POTA, doing soda, drink plenty of water.
Yeah, safety first as always.
Yes.
And remember, ladies and gentlemen, beer contains lots of water. Mike, thanks for coming along
thanks for having me on. This was
great
fun.
Little fun interview. Thanks very much, and 73. See you around.
Yeah. All right.